Hello again. Welcome to another edition of the Front Row Roundtable Show presented by Ralph East. Thanks for being here. Marty Bin, Fairway Mortgage, and stirrer of the pot.
Oh, I got a big spoon for tonight.
Oh,
I do.
I think he does too. Big
Excellent.
John Malkowski, official scorer, International League. We'll change your.
Glad to be back.
Because
Yeah.
the
The season has changed.
Yes. You don't have many conflicts though for quite a while.
Yeah. The Mud Hens aren't home a lot in April and most of May.
The day that we tape.
Or school games.
We'll talk about that later, I suppose. What do you got?
Nothing. I'm waiting for you to lead it off.
We have to start off with Tiger Woods.
Yes.
And what some are touting as tears are running down their face that it's the greatest comeback ever in the history of sports.
I got so tired of reading that on Twitter. Everybody's bawling and crying and.
What is it? Me? What's the matter with everybody? I get it. It was a good moment. I get it.
We live in a world where whatever the next thing that happens is always the greatest thing ever, and then everyone wants to insert themselves into it, and so that's the other part is that I cried. I don't care. I don't know you, and I don't care if you cry. I mean, that's the part. Go ahead and cry. I might think you're an idiot, but I don't need to know.
But why? Why are people crying? I don't get it.
Because it was so moving, and he worked so hard to come back from the abyss.
If a guy had blown the Masters a couple of times, and he's in his 40s, and he finally wins that one, I'm probably with you. But he's got what, 15? 16? What is it now? 15, 16, 15. No, it's not like he hasn't won before. And granted, I know it's been a long time. I get it.
The PGA Tour people were crying tears of happiness because of all the money they're going to make for the rest of this year and probably into next year. Because now all he's got to do is make cuts and everything's more
money. And now
money.
Vegas has installed him as the betting favorite for every other major and.
After being 14-1 and some guy earned $1 million on an $85,000 bet.
First of all, it's not shocking in the sense that he's been playing pretty well for a little while here. So the fact that he was in contention shouldn't really surprise anybody. Second of all, I think it was the perfect course for him because let's face it, the course there at the Masters is not for the long hitters. It's for the shot makers.
Right. The reason I and still am very surprised is he has not putt well since before all the turmoil happened. And at the Masters, if you don't putt well, you generally don't win. And he managed to find his putter and make the putts he used to make. And to me, that was the difference between him flirting around, from 5 to 10 and kind of hanging around things. You roll a few in and get going, and boy, all of a sudden now the driver doesn't leave you off the tee on the next hole, and you can hit a fairway here and there. But the fact that he hadn't putted well, I didn't see this coming. I will admit it. I thought he'd hang around. I didn't think he'd win because if you don't putt well, you're not going to win usually.
But he was in general he was playing pretty well. Yeah. So I mean to win a tournament anyway, you have to have some things come together. You have to hit a couple of good shots. Make sure that you don't put it in a drink on 16 like some others did. The shot on 16 was phenomenal. Phenomenal shot, no question. And it's a terrific accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. But I was actually at Ralphie's on Sunday, and everybody was watching the tournament. And somebody said, "You're not rooting for Tiger?" I'm like, "Well, no, not especially."
No.
Why not? I said, "I just don't think he's a good guy."
See,
I get emotionally involved when I think somebody's a good guy.
And not to take this in a different direction, but I've never rooted for him. I
did. I admit.
No,
when he was first.
Because having kids growing up and coaching sports at the same time he was going through what he was going through, going through the dominance, everybody wanted to be Earl Woods and push your kid and, just a lot of the training stuff that he did, pushed him into golf, and you have to be a golfer, and, he'd be out there throwing quarters at him while he's in his swing to get his focus, in. I saw a lot of dads who, were in that, guys putting garbage bags on football players and, sending them out to run so they can lose weight. And, You know, I saw way too much of that because Tiger became so popular because of the way he was brought up. Everybody thinks, well, that's the way to do it now. And I've never been a fan of, because normally something happened, you know, the Marinovich and guys like that. I mean, it always turns out badly at some point. And to me, when Tiger had his whole problems, he was never a kid. And to me, that's why he was doing what he was doing, screwing around with waitresses and everything else. He was never allowed to do those things when he was younger. And that's why I never rooted for him, just because of...
I did, because I like to watch history, and it was history. It was a good moment. But can we put the greatest comeback ever, can we put that in the closet? Yeah, you want to know what mine is? George Foreman. To me, that's the greatest comeback of all time. When you're more than 20 years in between the time you held the title and you win it back at age 45, that's while somebody's trying to hit you. You know, in all due respect, when Tiger's lining up for a putt, nobody's trying to hit him in the face. I'm sorry, that is the greatest comeback of all time. I don't think you can top that. But was it? You know, it's a terrific story. Don't get me wrong. I just don't.
I thought the coolest part of the story.
I don't get the crying and all that part.
I thought the coolest part was Saturday when he was talking about the last time that they had to go off in the morning off both nines. Nicholas won his last one. The fact that he had I mean, that's the one thing I have to give the guy is, you know, one, he can recount his rounds from 10 years ago in the big stuff and tell you what he hit where and what he missed where and whatever. And he's always been a student of the history of the game. And it was just odd to me that he highlighted that was when Jack won the last time, and that's the last time it happened.
I don't remember what year that was that Jack won.
86.
Masters.
Yeah, 86.
And it was, I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I watched it. It was phenomenal. And that was really somebody coming out of nowhere.
Right.
Because he hadn't won in a while. It didn't look like he was going to be healthy enough to do it. But again, it's the Masters, and it's about making shots. You know, it's not how far you're driving the golf ball. So, I think he's tailored to do that. Could Tiger win a couple more? Yeah, he could. Yeah, he could.
I think he'll get Snead's. He'll beat Snead for the all-time tour win. I mean, he only needs what 2 more to beat it, 1 to tie, 2 to win.
But see, as
the majors one, I don't know.
You know, as athletes age, the times that you do something spectacular decrease. Right. You know, it's like a bell curve. Yeah, and you'll get a few of these moments, but for him to maintain that, it's going to be extremely difficult to do.
Well, I mean, the back has been surgically altered several times. I mean, he says it feels the best it has in a long time, but back injuries to me, they don't ever go away. They just it's just a lingering thing that never completely leaves you.
And I mean, he's always put so much torque on his body and in his swing that, I mean, that's one swing away from going out again.
And one of those sports writers on Twitter tweeted, is there anybody not rooting for Tiger Woods? And somebody replied, well, Ellen Norgren is not. So, all right, send your emails and tweets to all us Tiger Woods haters. We'll take a timeout and come back, and we'll talk a little NFL draft. It is the Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer, a shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Mortgage Marty here. It's spring buying season's right around the corner. In fact, now is the best time to get started. Gives us a little lead time. If there's things we need to tweak, we can get on it right away. Remember, those credit inquiries don't affect your score any more than they will if you check later. So one inquiry, whether it's now and then again in the spring, still only counts as one, won't hurt your score. We helped 3 customers this week improve their score by an average of 30 points. So reach out now. Let's get that started. 419-461-0667 or marty.bin, B-I-H-N, at fairwaymc.com.
It's April Anarchy as Powerbomb Wrestling is back in action in Toledo on Sunday, April the 28th at 5 p.m. at St. Clements Hall, 2990 Tremainsville Road. See Unchained Brandon Day, The Circus of Pain, Sexy Sean Casey, Malice, The Bachelor Ben Boone, Queen Emanata, and more in action. Get your advanced discount tickets right now at pbwexcitement.com. That's pbwexcitement.com. The best wrestlers in the Midwest, Sunday, April the 28th at St. Clements Hall.
And back we are, Front Row Roundtable Show presented by Ralphie's. And Ralphie's, great place to go to see any games. Also, the NFL Draft, which round one is on Thursday. Which means if you're on Ralphie's after 9 o'clock on Thursday, you can get half-price appetizers.
Well, the good thing is you should be there and be able to throw up sometime mid-first round when the Raiders trade for Matt Stafford and get a veteran quarterback to replace Carr.
I thought they were going to give up all 3 of their draft picks in the first round to move up for Kyler Murray.
As a Cowboy fan, you should be the last one criticizing somebody else's draft.
The Cowboys don't have a first-round pick to goof up this year.
Yeah, what happened to it?
It's called Amari Cooper, who if they extend him before he proves himself again this season, I may have to buy a different jersey because I will be smashing things in my home. But hey, have at it.
Now, if it ends up being Kyler Murray, then there's gonna be problems on the next show. Actually, 2 weeks. It won't be next week. It'll be 2 weeks.
Do you think the Raiders are going to draft up and take Murray?
No.
Okay. So no Murray.
I'm hoping that's not the case.
Okay, so no Murray, no Stafford.
Not a quarterback. No.
Josh Rosen.
Should be a pass rusher.
Okay.
Well, there's plenty of those out there in this draft.
Well, it's a little top heavy. There's 3 or 4 right at the top, and there's kind of everybody else.
Well, I think there's 2 edge rushers at the top, and then there's Quinnen Williams sitting there. That it's kind of a giant force in the middle, and then you've got Gary and Oliver and those guys that are considered there's a space between the first 2 and the next. I just wonder how the whole quarterback mess plays out. Well, because trading up for a quarterback seems to be this thing that people do, that they throw crazy draft assets to go up and get.
Well, and you and I were talking before the show. Josh Rosen, who was, I think, the 4th rated quarterback last year, with only Josh Allen behind him, is still graded higher than any quarterback in this draft.
Correct.
But yet I've seen a lot of people saying there's going to be 5 quarterbacks in the first round of this draft again. And you don't have to have a quarterback. I don't know why people think you have to draft.
Well, but if the high grade guy is there, the one that Peyton Manning or the Troy Aikman or the one that everybody says, hey, that it's hard to miss with that guy. I get it.
Well,
but when you're taking flyers, or like we were talking about, when you're reaching for guys that last year would have been graded 6, 7, 8, and you're talking about picking them number 1.
Didn't they say that last year? That really they weren't like top flight quarterbacks in the first place. Didn't they say that last year?
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think the jury's still out on Darnold. I mean, Baker Mayfield performed well, but beyond that, what can you really say about last year's? I mean,
they were my top 2 guys last year. So
Josh Allen still can't hit, Niagara Falls from Buffalo. I mean,
but he can throw it 70 yards.
Well, that's why I picked Niagara Falls. I mean, it's far enough away, but he can't hit it.
And Rosen and his teammates hate him. So
yes, and that was rumored to be a problem going in. And proved itself that he was quirky and odd. And
if you can't lead your team, you can't really be a good quarterback in the NFL.
Jay Cutler.
I don't understand the Kyler Murray fascination. I really don't get it. I really don't. Did defensive linemen get shorter, and I didn't get the memo, or?
Well, the argument I've heard from football guys for the last 2 weeks.
Well, I've heard the argument.
Drew Brees and Russell Wilson are just fine. Well, okay.
Yeah, they're also 2 of how many quarterbacks that have been under 6 feet tall.
And both had tremendous long-term college careers under more pro-style systems than Murray's system. And oh, by the way, Murray was a one-hit wonder, not by anything he did, in a league that plays no defense.
Right.
Just so we're crystal clear that talk about the ultimate stat fillers. I mean, playing quarterback in the Big 12 is a great way to,
I keep seeing Charlie Ward, and I know that's not fair, but I don't get it.
Who was
Brees and Russell Wilson are exceptions to the rule. Yeah. There's always exceptions to the rule.
Right.
It's kind of like how some teams don't like to take pitchers that are under 6 foot tall.
Yep.
Occasionally there's a Pedro Martinez or
Tim Hudson or somebody like that. Yeah.
or Gordon or there's a couple of guys.
Yeah.
Lincecum till he hurt himself.
But those are the
But see,
exceptions.
he wasn't real durable either.
But those are the exceptions, not the rule.
I mean, if you want to take a gamble in the middle of the first round, okay. I'm not there.
So what are your skins going to do? Let's get a prediction.
Well,
Because Cowboys don't have a pick, so I don't have to say anything. So what are your skins going to do?
Well, hopefully they just go for whoever the best lineman is that's available, either the offense or defense, and then trade their second round pick for Josh Rosen, because Colt McCoy is not the answer.
I'm hoping the Raiders were talking about Kyler Murray because they were trying to entice somebody to trade up to him.
In case he doesn't go 1.
In case he doesn't go, in case he drops to 4.
All right, so edge rusher. What's after that?
Oh, take your pick.
You need some of everything?
Could use, I didn't like Cook getting away. Could use a tight end. You could use more than one pass rusher.
Talk about a position nobody talks about. There are some real quality tight end prospects.
I still would be happy with another wide receiver. There's plenty of. Plus, they need a running back. They really don't have one right now. But you don't want to take one in the first round.
And I think the NFL is in a weird position because the so-called the positions that are out there are not the glamour positions. This draft is going to be filled with offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers. You don't have the skill position guys. And it's hard to sell a draft on.
Belichick's drooling, though, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I saw a projection that had that 32 pick being for Rosen, and the Patriots grabbing Rosen to be the heir apparent to Brady, which I think would be somewhat genius because they think there's enough talent. Wide receiver is one of the positions that they need, and they think there are going to be wide receivers up and down the second, third, fourth. And I think the same thing.
I've only seen a couple wide receivers in the first round.
Well, that is if the Cardinals take Murray.
Right.
Yeah.
If they don't, they won't be trading Rosen.
Right.
And I was looking at 7-round mock drafts, which are the dumbest things ever because I don't know. But anyway, there were 2 of them on CBS Sports. One of them had Cody Thompson in the 6th round to the Jags. One of them had Jon'Vea Johnson in the 6th round, but neither one had the other.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see from a local perspective what happens with those 2 guys.
Cody Thompson will get a contract of some type, if for no other reason than his special teams film, which teams, when you're taking somebody that far down, drool over the opportunity.
Or as a free agent.
Kicks. Well, I'm saying. Somebody's going to take a shot no matter. I mean, he'll end up on a roster one way or the other because of the other things he does. So, but it's interesting to me that, for the first time in a long time, there aren't a lot of MAC guys that are talked about way up. I think Buffalo's quarterback is talked about as a 4th or 5th, and that's about the only guy you hear much buzz about.
Yeah, there's a Central Michigan cornerback I think that was a first round in most of the mocks, but that was it.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point, 6th, 7th round, a lot of times the guys are hoping they don't get drafted so they can sign as a free agent into a spot that will be beneficial to them, a spot where they will have a chance of making the team and a chance to play. All right, we will take time out. We'll come back and talk about some discussed rule changes, not for baseball, but for the NBA. We'll do that when we come back. Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer. A shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Mortgage Marty here. It's spring buying season's right around the corner. In fact, now is the best time to get started. Gives us a little lead time. If there's things we need to tweak, we can get on it right away. Remember, those credit inquiries don't affect your score any more than they will if you check later. So one inquiry, whether it's now and then again in the spring, still only counts as one, won't hurt your score. We helped 3 customers this week improve their score by an average of 30 points. So reach out now. Let's get that started. 419-461-0667 or marty.bin, B-I-H-N, at fairwaymc.com.
for our Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's. Norm Weber, Big John Malkowski, Marty Bin. All right, we've talked about rule changes on this show before, but not when it comes to the NBA.
Is that still a thing?
The NBA?
Yeah. Are they still playing?
Yeah, it's playoff time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You'll care about it for 3 days in about 2 weeks.
No.
3 weeks. Well, you won't have a choice because, ESPN will beat you into caring about it for like a week.
Well,
Don't watch
it
ESPN.
doesn't matter what the show is or what the sport is. Watch the commercials that run, because that will tell you what the target audience is.
Right.
And let's just say they're not really targeting me in the NBA. I'm just throwing that out there. Commissioner Adam Silver at the league's annual end of the season meetings last year started basically rumors, I guess, about possible rule changes. Now, first of all, if you are considering radical rule changes, isn't that generally a sign that you got problems?
Yeah. I'll go yes. I just agreed with Norm. Anyways,
No,
yes.
it was a question.
Yes.
I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just asking a question.
I think it's reasonable to conclude that you think there's something wrong.
What do you think they think the problem is?
First of all, I think my version of the problem is I think it's really difficult to care about anything that goes on in the regular season because the way the playoffs are and the way the regular season's played out with guys sitting and whatever. You can't plan to tune into a game until the night before until you can actually look at who might play and who's sitting because the games are awful sometimes.
You know, I keep hearing this, but I went down to Cincinnati 4 times while Ken Griffey Jr. was there. I never saw Ken Griffey Jr. play. I mean, in baseball, you get days off, and you get days off. Nobody cares.
Yeah,
I don't know why in the NBA it's such a big deal when a guy gets a day off.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm not saying it matters to me. I'm saying many regular season games to me are. It's guys standing around. It's guys play. The last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, defense gets magic. It's like somebody flips on the defense, and I don't think that happened. I don't think in baseball guys take plays off. I mean, they take days off.
Yeah,
but I think every time you go to the plate, you're not. Well, I'll just watch 3 go by and go sit down.
I think the bigger problem is that they have not figured out how to defend the game right now, because there are so many 3-point shooters, and they're so good at it. And we're talking, it used to be the 3-point shooters were 6'2" guys. No, there's a lot of 7-footers that shoot 3-pointers. So you have a difficult time.
And you can't hand check anymore, which, to me, that's the one that drives me the craziest.
But it's not anymore that they're just shooting 3-pointers. It's that they're sometimes shooting well behind the 3-point line. So it's stretching that defense. It's bringing that defense out, which is opening up everything else underneath. So all the driving lanes are all there, all the backdoor. You don't see many backdoor plays, actually. You see more driving plays than anything else. But teams don't know how to defend it. And I don't know if there is a way to defend it, because there's minds smarter than mine that haven't figured it out.
I don't know.
So that's the game we got. It's a 3-point chucking contest.
Well, and the problem is that it filters down. Now the college is like that, and now you watch a high school game and it's the same thing. Kids come down and shooting from 10 feet behind the 3-point line. They have no idea, no clue they're going to make it. But
right. The problem is they can't make them with the proficiency that the guys do in the NBA. They can't in college either. But in the NBA now, the game has gone. The defenses have been stretched out so far that having a hard time defending anything.
Well, the way that, James Harden jumping into somebody every time he shoots so he can go to. There are just things right now that drive me. That's another rule. I hate the way you get away with that.
Because one of the suggestions was exploring the idea of trimming the games down from 48 minutes to 40.
I don't know what that does for you.
I don't know either.
To me, all it does is mess with statistical comparisons for every generation forever. And those kind of changes drive me. When baseball did it, it was a mess for how the Maris with the star. And stop it.
Silver apparently likes the idea of adding in-season tournaments. Something that the NBA 2K League is found success with.
But who are you going to play?
Each other, apparently.
Then what good is an in-season tournament?
I don't know.
Because and I know the one.
I don't know, because at the end, it's the end season tournament that everybody's.
Well, right, and in the article he compares that to international soccer, where they play in season, but they play other leagues. I mean, the English league plays the French league and the German league. They all play a tournament between themselves during the year. I mean, what's the point if the Pistons are playing the Timberwolves in a game in the regular season or in the tournament? I mean, who cares?
Are leagues in general trying to dumb things down too much? And I say this because it I don't like the stereotype of millennials have short attention spans and all that, and it all depends on the individual. But that impression is out there. So all these sports are trying to do all these changes to address that situation instead of just explaining the game. You know, the Tigers did a 3-game series with just players. And I could have done without the guys Skyping in. But generally, and Craig Monroe, I think, does this extremely well, actually talks about the game. And the little games inside the game, which makes it interesting for those of us who like baseball. And instead of going that route, they're going the lowest common denominator route, kind of like what ESPN did. And I hate that. I hate the lowest common denominator route.
I had the distinct displeasure when I went turkey hunting of driving in an area that there were no radio stations, so it was satellite only, really, because everything else.
What's radio?
Stop it! But the Lebertard show, which is supposed to be a sports show, spent basically the entire 30 minutes that I had no choice but to listen to satellite, and for some reason
There's other channels on the satellite.
I know, but I became somewhat transfixed by the stupidity of it, which probably says something about me. But they spent 40 minutes talking about farts. And I thought,
But it also says something about why they do it, because they got you for 40 minutes.
it was the most mind-numbing, and I think I just left it on at some point in time to see how long it might continue. And my dad looked at me and said, "If you don't change this, I'm going to beat you."
See, and we got to go, but this reminds me of the old adage about somebody saying, well, I thought you were stupid, but there's so many stupid people that have come along since then, you've actually moved up the list. So, in that sense, this show has moved up the list.
Excellent.
Saturday Night Live next, Powerbomb Wrestling, 2 a.m. We'll see you next week for our Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's.